Welcome to the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by the Jefferson County Department of Health. Hello, everyone. This is Jarvis S. Scott with What's Happening Birmingham. I am back again with my good friend Talibah Bayles of Trust TMB Tax and Financial Services. If you watched the previous segment about the EIDL, we was talking about with that loan. But we're coming back to one of my favorite topics, one of her favorite topics. These are the topics of a year and a half, especially with small business owners, was the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. This was something that was started by the government to kind of bail out businesses. I don't say bail out, but give us that capital infusion that due to the pandemic. And I want to bring her back on today just to kind of get her reflections on the process, what she felt worked, what didn't work, and this wonderful thing called loan forgiveness. And we can't not do this segment without talking about these PPP frauds, the things that was going on. So Talibah, how you doing today? Thanks for coming back on again.
Oh, I'm always excited to be on with you, and thank you for having me.
So with the PPP loan process, from from your profession, what was some now that it's over with and we get in the forgiveness process? What was your thing about the whole process before that?
I would say that the PPP initiative itself really exposed an age-old challenge that minority business owners have and have had before, and that is the challenge of a banking relationship. Because obviously your bank had to be participating, right, in PPP, or be readily available or customer friendly, to help you get through the process of applying. Or if you were unbanked, you had to find a bank, which could have been a process in itself on becoming a member to apply. So I want to start like there as being one of the biggest kind of takeaways was that the unbanked really had a challenge, and even some of the banks, some of the bigger banks, the accusation is that they catered to the larger companies first. And so small business owners were shut out. And I believe that that's why you had so many different iterations. You had the first round, the second round. You saw where the government tried to address that issue by then allowing, sole proprietors, and then, having closed windows where only a certain group can apply. So PPP really reflected this huge wound of unbanked and banking relationships being weak in the minority small business community, and the government tried to adjust to that. And I think that they pivoted well as much as they could in the middle of everything. Perhaps the pivot was too sharp because, of course, it allowed for for folks to get money that probably shouldn't have qualified for that. But that's where I would lead, is it really was a strain on banking relationships.
Did you find, like, people, like you said, strain on banking relationships, that it was much harder because you didn't have a bank to try to get these loans? Because one of the things you had to prove that you was in business in 2019. And a lot of these people, like you said, either they was operating off of, our favorite little money system, Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Yeah, that was a system where you can get money and divert initially into your bank account, but it wasn't like it was a business bank account. So that was a challenge, just proving that, because the best way to prove that you have a business is your bank statements.
Your bank statements, your tax return. And so that's absolutely right. That definitely played a part in those folks who were unbanked. So there were banks, and see, that's the whole thing. When I say banking relationships, If you didn't have one, then you had to find, right? So it was that rat race of, okay, is there a bank? Okay, this bank's accepting PPP applications from folks who aren't account holders. All you got to do is create an account. Well, we know what you got to have in order to actually create a business, banking account. Is you gotta come in with your business formation documents, and so that's what I mean. That's why I started with banking relations, because it's actually so many levels underneath that, through which business owners felt themselves kind of, on the sidelines. But even underneath that, like you mentioned, Cash App and Venmo and some of the others, not bashing them, but when it came to business owners that relied solely on those payment platforms to pay their folks, well, then now you don't have a formal payroll system. You don't have a paper trail. And I've been corrected that Cash App, there's a business version of it now where you can do reports and different things. And of course, there are workarounds through which you can absolutely bring it into your accounting system, so that you can have more of a track record. But I'm talking about the past, right? Like we had folks that were truly paying all of their folks through Cash App, so they didn't have any 941s. They didn't have any payroll tax forms that had been filed. So you had a lot of folks that were just kind of beating themselves up for not having that stuff together. And then of course, just like EIDL that we talked about in the prior segment, as with anything really, I've even seen where some private grants will ask you for your taxes, a copy of your tax return. PPP was based on your tax return, whether or not if you had formal payroll, then you do your 941s or your actual business tax return. And again, just kind of being in this industry for the past 12, 13 years, I actually specialize with folks who are behind. So it's no judgment zone here, right? And so therefore I can speak from pure experience to let you know that there were a lot of people that were, as I say, coming out of the darkness, like, honey, I need to get caught up on my taxes, right? And so I loved it because people understood the importance of it. And I think that it really has set a standard now where business owners are like, okay, if I'm going to qualify for any small business disaster recovery funding, I'm gonna have to have my stuff together. So those people who realize that have locked it in, and that's what they're doing.
So now that we moved on to the one thing I liked about between, like you said, the difference between the first round, second round. The first round, like you say, you looked at your tax return, but the second round, they actually looked like what you made and multiply it times 2. So you actually got more money the second round than you actually got the first round.
Yep. If you were a restaurant, or if your NASCS code started with 72, then you did get more opportunity to qualify, more money to qualify for. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So moving on to the forgiveness part of it, what are some things you would tell small business owners now as they, because I've noticed now that maybe if you got the loan back in, like you said, the second round PPP in January or February, a lot of banks, I'm not going to mention one bank, one big, large bank, haven't even opened up their forgiveness portal yet. What are some things business owners need to be doing now to kind of make sure that, they make it 100% forgivable as far as on the documents?
So I'm going to say one word: record keeping, right? Because this kind of goes into what you wanted to talk about with these people that are going, having to pay the money back or going to jail or whatever the case may be. It all boils down into record keeping, and being educated about what the requirements are. There was a lot of, messaging of, free money, get these, and whenever you start wrapping stuff up into those type of buzzwords, then, it really takes away from a business owner actually being qualified and understanding this is what comes with you getting this money. Because if you do record keeping and if you understand what to use the money for, then it will be forgiven and it will be a grant. But going into a process, just like the EIDL process, going into the process like, oh, this is free money, you know, is just not the right way to do it, because it's just a mindset, right? If you go in like, I'm going to guarantee it's free money, that's different from, you know, free for all, let me go in here and apply. So it boils down to record keeping. With PPP, it just like you said at the top of our interview here, it is the payroll protection program. So the majority of your funds, now it changed in between different rounds, but the majority of that money had to be used for payroll. And so that was like the other thing that business owners, you know, may have found new, like that's a new thing to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I don't have a formal payroll. What does that mean for me as a sole proprietor? Right. And so I found myself saying to my sole proprietors or my single member LLC business owners, payroll constitutes you either transferring money from your business account to your personal account or writing a check from your business account to your personal account. And that is the same principle that I would with the COVID loan that can be used for operational expenses that include payroll. Even sole proprietors and single member LLCs can have a payroll, right? And so you have, basically what I'm saying is you've got to split, separate, keep separate your personal from your business. If you've got $40,000 in a PPP loan and you're a single member LLC and you decide that you want 100% of that to go to payroll, that's legal. You can do that. But now you have to create the payroll. Now you actually have to create the transaction that constitutes payroll, as opposed to going on the cruise out of your business account. That's not payroll. But if you transfer, I mean, I'm keeping it real with you, but if you pay yourself out of your business account to your personal account, nobody cares what you do in your personal account, but they absolutely care what you do in your business account. And that's where the ball was dropped, because you had a lot of people that in essence were taking advantage of, you know, the guidelines and the loopholes, and business owners not knowing, right? You just heard it was some money. You're not even knowing the guidelines. And so you gotta, and I think the implications are, they're gonna go well out into the future. I mean, I dread to see what tax year 2021 is going to look like. Because I don't think a lot of people understood. You've sent this tax form in saying that this is what your payroll was. I know, I mean, so therefore, when it comes to you file taxes, all that should match up, right? Like if you said you had a payroll, you got a PPP loan because it's just all got to match up. And so that's why I say it's going to be, unfortunately, because I don't want to make light of this, because people were taken advantage of. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to have some business owners in a difficult spot. They're not going to be able to do PPP forgiveness because, you know, I mean, I guess you can play Russian roulette, you know, but, you know, those are certifications that you have to certify. This is, you know, so my heart really breaks for the people that really got taken advantage of. And I'm not saying they were complete victims, because you knew somebody was making up numbers, but it's going to be a whole group of folks that are going to be really in a difficult spot when it comes to PPP forgiveness, because there's no record keeping. But if you have the record keeping because you qualified, then the PPP process has changed a little bit. Just like you said, Jarvis, the SBA has actually created a direct PPP forgiveness portal, but your bank has to, you know, sign up for it. Otherwise, you would have to apply for PPP forgiveness directly to your bank. So I guess, there are some banks that maybe are still deciding on whether or not they want to do it, or they're still going through the process, because it is a process, that banks would have to go through in order to be able to do that. But you just would want to make sure that you are in contact with your bank, that you are on the lookout for emails either from your bank saying, here's your PPP portal with us, or, you could go to SBA directly and do your PPP forgiveness.
Yeah, because you have to wait for the banks and all that. Now, I do want to go back, like you said, people in a difficult spot. Now, some of these folks going to jail because it's like the story.
Yeah.
I mean, all you got to do is Google, YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, people out here do it like it was like they won the lottery. Like business owners, like they won the lottery. They're gonna buy a car. They bought big cars that was bought doing this.
Oh cars. Yeah, I mean it was some real spending going on. It was some real and
they will, and like we just said, the IRS, things are slow, but eventually they will find you.
I mean, again, and perhaps it's just my bias of having worked for the federal government for 15 years, like where it's slow, but it is definitely a concerted effort. Like, I mean, it eventually, especially with the IRS, if it's this year or 6 years from now, you filing a return that's not correct, it's going to come back to bite you. And so, I think, Jarvis, what I want to pull from that for folks, is I think that has actually led to a lot of people zoning out of the entire process altogether, because they're, seeing the memes, like you said, they're Googling and seeing people going to jail and different things like that. And so truly qualified buyers are zoning out. Like they're just like, oh, I don't want nothing to do with that. That's probably somebody doing fraud. You know what I mean? So, and that's the unfortunate part, is that you actually have legitimately qualifying businesses that are saying, I'm not going to apply for COVID EIDL because I think it's fraudulent, or because the person posting in this Facebook group talking about creating bank statements. I mean, it's a lot of craziness out there.
It was just like,
And the unfortunate part, though, the other part, so on top of it being, people being in a tight spot, people zoning out, the other thing too is that I want people to know it's not going to get any better, because now that all of that has been exposed for the qualifying folks, that just means now more than ever, you're going to have your documents together. Because now the federal government's like, oh yeah. So, because I actually just read through an OIG, an Office of Inspector General report for the SBA when it comes to those EIDL advances that I talked about. The same thing, is the folks that need to know that we left a wide open gap in this process, and that gap is closed. So what I mean by that is, now if you want anything that's and the state governments and the city governments, they will follow federal, because a lot of times the federal money is going to trickle down. So what I'm trying to say is, you're going to have to get your stuff together. And even in the Build Back Better bill and infrastructure, what's in there is 7A and 504 loans. So therefore, when it comes to loans, you got to have your taxes together. You got to have your accounting together to produce financial statements. So in the form of help is on the way, or small businesses, you might as well add to the end of that statement, small businesses that have their stuff together, because that's what it's going to be. Now that we've said all this doom and gloom, again, you absolutely can do this though. You can do this. Like, you know, a lot of times, again, it's a mindset. You know, for whatever reason, you hadn't gotten to it yet. Maybe you're wearing many hats, many crowns, or whatever the case may be. But don't think now that just because we've said all of this stuff, that it's not possible for you. I've worked with a young lady who started her business not even 3 years ago. Okay. Her first year, she finished in maybe like a $2,000 profit, right? But it still was profitable. And she now, almost 3 years from now, has not only was she approved for a $25,000 micro loan, she also was just recently approved for a $15,000 credit card limit, business credit card limit with Navy Federal Credit Union. And we've applied for an EIDL loan. And these are all things that she's leveraging to build her business. And this is within 3 years of me working with her. So believe me when I say that no matter where you are in your business, get with someone who, you know, who can help you, who can, just like Jarvis and I were talking about before, get with someone who can add that advisory, that consulting level to being able to do that actual technical assistance of taxes or bookkeeping, so that you can build out your roadmap, your business plan as to what you want to do with this money, so that you're not tempted to just, you know what I'm saying, not do what you're supposed to do with it. And I promise you, you surround yourself with the right people that are going to help you leverage these things, and you will be amazed as to what you can be truly bankable and eligible for in a 6 months to 1 year amount of time. Okay.
So if people would like to get in contact with you, what's the best way to reach you?
So you can go to Instagram at TMB Tax, Facebook, TMB Taxes LLC. You can Google TMB Taxes LLC, TMB Tax and Financial Services. My website is trusttmbtaxes.com. And so you can go there, reach out. I do share a lot of this information on social media. So definitely follow me. You can DM me there. But I definitely look forward to learning more about your business. We are busy, which I love, because we're getting our Black and minority businesses bankable. But I definitely, you know, reach out to us, you know what I mean? And we'll tell you when our onboarding process will be for new clients. And I truly look forward to helping you.
All right, well, Talibah, thank you so much for coming on today. Always a welcome guest on the podcast. We'll see your face. See you again in the future, because
yes,
one thing we know, this PPP thing is not going away, and EIDL and all types of things is not going away. So definitely stay tuned. Look forward to future segments. Thank you all for watching this podcast today. Please check out what'shappenedbirmingham.com for more videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast. Please check out our website, app, or subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest videos today.